How do you stay motivated and inspired when pursuing your big ideas? This is probably one of the most frequently asked questions by women in our community, and I'll be honest, I don't always feel motivated. But today I'm going to share with you 3 of my best secrets to staying consistent even on the days when motivation is lacking. Thanks for tuning in today. I am excited to answer this question that has been flooding my inbox. And part of the reason why it flooded my inbox is we just started this text mentorship program where we have a dedicated number set up for those of you who want business and mindset tips sent to your phone every single week from me. Like legit, I send you these texts and I reply back to you. This is actually my number. But when I started the list, I asked a question to everyone who joined in the beginning, just what would you like to have mentorship around? What do you want to, hear some tips about? And I lost count at about 10 people who wrote back something to the effect of, how do you stay motivated? How do you keep your head in the game? How do you stay inspired around your big ideas? And it's such a great question because honestly, I don't always feel motivated. So what I think is really underneath it is, how do you not give up on the days that you don't feel motivated? I don't think any of us fully expect that we will feel 100% on fire for our big ideas every single day. But I do think we know deep down that there are certain points along the journey, and for whatever reason, that we almost run the risk of giving up. Or maybe you have given up in the past on a big idea because you just lost that sense of motivation. And today, I really want to tackle this and give you some hard questions to think about, to ask yourself when you're in these seasons, because what I don't want is for your big idea that could have really served someone else, could have made a huge difference in someone's life. I don't want that idea to never get out there because you lost motivation and eventually just kind of quit. And I know from personal experience, so let me just start by saying this, there are a lot of ideas that I've had in the past that never got off the ground because I struggled with the same thing. So hear my heart when I say this is not coming from someone who is motivated all the time or who always has life figured out. But I love that so many of you wrote in with this question because it really made me think, okay, what has helped me in those situations where I haven't allowed lack of motivation to stop me? Okay, what really helped? And so I came up with 3 really good tips, ideas, I don't know what you want to call them, that when I look back at the toughest parts of my own journey, when really, if I'm being honest, I wanted to quit a lot of the times. I didn't feel a lot of motivation, or maybe I felt full on resistance. What did I do? And I'm sure you have some great examples too. So I cannot wait to hear yours, but let me run through the 3 first things that came to my mind when it came to answering the question of how do we stay motivated when pursuing a big idea? So the first one is kind of like I said, just to know you're not going to feel motivated or inspired all the time. So get the idea out of your mind that you should feel that way 24/7. I think so often the idea of entrepreneurship or business is glamorized on social media. And, when you're growing a business or you're growing as a person, any kind of growth is uncomfortable AF. It is not supposed to be comfortable. It's not supposed to feel good. And sometimes, if you're brutally honest, I know when I look back at my own journey and check in with myself, the lack of motivation I felt was actually my mind trying to keep me comfortable. So what was really happening was I was pressing into my own growth and I hit some resistance, and resistance feels super uncomfortable. And how that showed up is, wow, I just don't feel inspired anymore. I just don't feel motivated anymore. Well, yeah, obviously, because I'm taking on a really big goal that's forcing me to grow. Of course, it's not going to feel comfortable. It's not going to feel like sunshine and rainbows all the time. And this is why you see a lot of people give up on really, really brilliant ideas, because they hit that point of resistance. And I don't know if it's that we forget that resistance is uncomfortable inherently, or if it's just that we don't like the feeling of fear that often comes along with it, that it makes it a really easy point to give up. But I promise, if you stay consistent and keep pushing through, and I'll give you a couple of ways to do that, then on the other side, you do find that motivation again. You do find a deeper sense of inspiration than you even started with. And when I think back at the time in my own life when this really almost took me out, this loss of motivation, loss of inspiration, which was really just disguising the fact that I was hitting resistance, was when I was first writing my book. And if you've ever taken on a project like writing a book that required you to stay consistent for 6 months, 9 months, a full year, like I had to stay consistent and keep working on this book for over a year. So there were a lot of days in that year, even if you think about in a given week, you don't necessarily feel motivated every day or inspired. So it was a great practice for me to stay consistent even on the days when I didn't feel motivated. And there were some times when I would literally sit down at a computer, and staying consistent for me meant I would set a timer for 10 or 15 minutes and I just had to write, even if it was something that I wrote and I just erased it immediately afterward and I didn't even use it in the book. I set a habit that was so small that it was easy for me to accomplish, even if it didn't turn out in the way that I wanted it to. Meaning that maybe that 15 minutes of writing didn't turn into like the most epic content and words that I'd ever written. It was just doing the habit daily and consistently that ultimately did lead me to the days when inspiration and motivation were just flowing. Like someone turned on the faucet and I could just write for hours. But I didn't get to those days by waiting for them to come. I got to those days by showing up and writing even on the days when I didn't want to. And sometimes, I'm just going to be honest, it was accompanied with some tears and severe discomfort of pushing the boundaries of where I was comfortable. So for me, I know that when a lack of motivation is showing up in my life, it's a chance for me to check in. Am I hitting an upper limit? Am I overworking myself? Maybe I actually need some rest versus just to step away and put this project to the wayside altogether? Or is it just my mind trying to keep me comfortable and I need to keep pushing through? So that's the first thing to ask yourself. The second way that I know to be really effective in getting myself remotivated or re-inspired is to put my focus back on who the big idea that I'm working on, whatever it is at the moment, who that idea is really all about in the first place. And spoiler alert, it's not about me. You know, our big ideas are never about us. They are 100% about who we will serve. And you hear me talk about this all the time because it's one of the best ways to get out of our own way and kind of like get over ourselves is to remember it's not about us. So one of the best ways to get yourself back in the game is put your focus back on who you started this big idea for anyway. Who is it meant to serve? And if you have some of those people in your life, one of the most effective things you can do is go have a conversation with them. Check in, ask how they're doing, ask what they need. And, you know, when I was writing, one of the ways that this showed up for me was I was in a writing group. And I obviously was writing about getting out of your own way. And as an aspiring author, you have to get out of your own way a lot. So I was fortunate enough to be in this writing group with people who were the person I was writing this book for. So all it took was a conversation with some of these women who are fellow aspiring authors to say, wow, okay, it sounds like people do really need these reminders about how to get out of their own way, how to, you know, how to push through resistance. And I remember sometimes being so pissed because I really wanted to quit. I wanted to have a valid reason to quit. And remembering who this was for, remembering that, okay, even if just one person could be helped by me not stopping, by me staying consistent, seeing this through, it was all worth it. So second fastest way, or I guess second way, and I think the fastest way to get re-inspired is to focus on who you can serve. And then the third one, and this is one, again, I've shared about before, and I always giggle and have to share that I wish this wasn't true for me. I wish I just woke up and I was naturally motivated all the time without needing this third one. But what will really get you into action far more than motivation is having accountability. It's one of the reasons why I will always have a mentor or be a part of a mastermind. And this is the part that I wish wasn't true. I have to actually invest in myself to be held radically accountable. So it's got to pinch a little bit in my finances in order for me to have so much on the line that I won't stop even when I really, really want to. It helps me stay consistent even on the days when I don't feel motivated, and I definitely have those days. For some people, even just the act of putting a goal out there publicly is enough to really create some healthy accountability. So you put your word out there and you told people, okay, I'm going to write this book or I'm going to start this podcast. You have to know yourself well enough to know what holds you accountable. For me, personally, I know that I've got to be bought in at a level that won't allow me to quit on myself. So when I was writing, we'll just stay with this theme, I had joined this writing group, so I had to pay to be a part of this group that was giving us a framework to get started in writing our books. And I am so glad that I invested in that accountability and support, because there were plenty of times that I showed up to our Zoom calls fully expecting that, okay, this was the day that I was going to tell people, okay, I just have a really busy schedule, or I have too much going on right now. I'm not going to finish this. And every single time I imagined having to go to my husband, who was so unbelievably supportive. He was my biggest champion, and say to him, hey, that book program that, I invested a couple grand in. Yeah, I'm just not going to finish that. I could not bring myself to have that conversation with him. And I remember sometimes being so mad because I was right in the middle of that resistance point, right in the middle of, okay, motivation was long gone. Now I was full on in a temper tantrum of resistance with my old self and the new self that I was fighting to become. And no part of me wanted this change. But I knew that if I just kept going, just kept putting one foot in front of the other, that eventually I would probably get further than if I did the thing that I always used to do, which was make up an excuse, convince myself why it was perfectly logical, and then just not finish that big idea. And the truth is, I already knew how that story ended. I already knew what it felt like to have a really, really big dream that scared the bleep out of me and not follow through with it. So not only did I have the accountability and I had other people reminding me why I started, but I just kept remembering and telling myself, you already know what it looks like to not follow through on a big idea. What could happen if you did? And being a part of that writing group, staying consistent, literally changed my life. It led to this podcast that you're listening to right now. It led to everything that you see in terms of Powerhouse women. None of this would exist if I had listened to the very, very loud voice in my mind, the lack of motivation, the lack of inspiration at times. And I just want the same for you. I want you to get to the other side and feel how great it feels when you see a big idea through. Because usually the best parts of what's waiting for you on the other side are completely a surprise. You can't see them when you're standing on the other side of that, just first 1 or 2 or 10 steps. You can't see what's waiting for you on the other side. You just have to stay consistent and keep going. So if you could use a little extra support, I got you. I know I need support like on a daily basis. So one of the things that we are doing, we just launched this and it has been so much fun, is this text mentorship program. So you can text the word mentor to this phone number. And yes, this phone number literally comes right to me, right to my phone. It's 602-536-7829. And yes, I'll put it in the show notes as well. And all you have to do is text mentor to that number, and I will send you 1 to 2 times a week business mindset tips. I will even answer you back when you send a reply. And it's really just a way to be able to support those of you who are committed that this is the year. You are going to break through. You're going to overcome your lack of motivation, lack of inspiration at times. You're going to get into action around your big idea, and all in the name of making an impact. And I know that that's what you're here to do. So let me know how I can support you. I'm super excited. If you've already joined the text mentorship, you know that, we're sending some good stuff. It's like, this is stuff that I give to like my mastermind and mentorship members, the paid members, and it's totally for free just to support you in your journey. So connect with me there. Let me know if you liked today's episode, and let me know, what is your best secret, your best tip for staying motivated when you're pursuing your big ideas?